right, welcome back to Wise Up, episode 6. It's been a little while since we brought a new episode to you, but I think there's a pretty good built-in excuse for that. We had a little personal breaking news over the last month from our esteemed editor, Austin Jackson, over here.
Yeah, I'm a dad now. So that was an exciting time. Got downloaded the contractions app.
Huge.
Huge get, and it's like the first or second recorder one's like gave me the message like, "Hey, go to the hospital." I was like, "Okay." So it was a little early, but yeah, it's been a interesting journey, fatherhood. But Avery June Jackson, shout out, born November 17th, and it's an excuse for not seeing this podcast, and it's kind of a good go-to now. I got like a kid.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Best built-in excuse of all time, I would
All time.
imagine.
He's like, yeah, sorry. My newborn daughter needed me. But
Yeah, we wanted to bring to you kind of our jump into next year by doing kind of a year in review rewind from 2023. Some of our top stories, our favorite stories, a little sports action, and maybe what we want to see in 2024.
right.
You can pick up the Messenger. You get the gist. Year in review on newsstands now. Yeah, you can hold that up.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and pick that up now on newsstands. E-edition on the website as well. It's got top headlines, year in crime, some funny crime reports, stuff like that. So for sure, check it out. Good photos in there as well.
Right.
If you want to go ahead, we'll start with our most clicked stories.
Right.
Coming in at number 1, we have.
Oh.
You want to take this one?
Well, yeah. So these are looked at the back in our website, and these are the ones that generated the most traffic. So number 1 was 2 jailed for murder in the case of a missing teen, Matthew Brown. So that was honestly kind of a crazy week for us. Was just looking through that paper, and this one was on the front page, but barely, because it also came up against 2 of these other most clicked stories of the year. So that was obviously a tragic story. Believe that 3 have been kind of arrested and charged with this murder, but he was missing for several weeks, and it was definitely a tough one to cover. But so our next story
is we're gonna go number 2 most clicked story is strip club coach. That would be former Bridgeport Boys head soccer coach J.D. Bales, arrested for basically misusing district funds. Used a Bridgeport IC credit card.
allegedly.
Allegedly. Still under investigation. Allegedly used district funds at a men's club in Houston. That was wild to follow, and it's still, we're still just got the latest update that he was arrested 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. So that's I'm sure going to be a big one to follow in the coming year. And it's one of those where it's less consequential, I think. So it's easier to follow. No one was hurt. Obviously, it's his bad decision on his part, but you don't feel as bad about reporting on it or following or being interested in it.
I think it's kind of clear why it was so popular online, because people could, people thought it was probably from outside that weren't connected to this community, probably sharing it, thinking it was, humorous.
Yeah, got picked up kind of everywhere, worldwide, like truly worldwide. Daily Mail in the UK picked it up.
Probably could have. Yeah, I think it was our original reporting is linked, on the New York Post, Daily Mail, pick a national publication. It was probably there. So that's our number 2. Number 3, I'll take the lead on this one. So this is the Heritage Museum fire. Obviously, just such a devastating loss for this community. So much history was held inside that building, and the building itself was, it predates the courthouse. The former Decatur Baptist College administration building. So definitely, a tough one to cover. I just remember, driving in from Prosper, Texas, to cover that in the middle of the night. First you kind of hear the scanner call and like kind of fire investigation, like could be nothing, and didn't take long for me to find out that it was a major event, probably 20 miles away, when I could look across the skyline and see an orange ball of fire. And that was a very intense fire. I mean, honestly, kind of a miracle that no one got hurt.
Absolutely.
With the firefighters that had entered the building to try to put it out. And I think they were probably evacuated from that just before it got really, really dangerous. With, I've seen videos of kind of the second where it kind of popped off, and it's like flames and smoke almost like exploding out of the building, just like a really strong fire. And honestly, kind of lucky that the building didn't fall on the police department or the other city of Decatur buildings that are nearby. So
I think it's hard to find the good in some of these stories, especially this one. But I think one of the cooler things was we had people kind of write in their memories of the museum, and you had people, we had like a 16-year-old kid write in about how they toured the museum, and it had an impact on them all the way up to, people who graduated from the college when it was still
or
here in
played
Decatur.
on their football team.
Yeah.
We had a Decatur Baptist football team.
Right. So I think that was kind of a cool part. It's tough to look at it now and kind of remember what it once was, but it definitely left an impact on so many people in this community. And their efforts to recover some artifacts and kind of try to move forward. You talked to Mary Hilliard.
It's a story that has, been with this paper, like current news, up to the last paper of 2023 with the efforts to kind of make the building safe to enter and kind of see what they're going to do next with. Selective demolition has been underway for the past 2 weeks, and Mary Hilliard, the Wise County Historical Society president, actually came in the other day and mentioned they have been able to find some stuff that they can recover, which is such great news. Like, you see that destruction, you see that fire, it's like there's no way that anything can be salvaged, but they had signs leading up to, there is stuff in there, and one of, there's probably stuff that's a little damaged, but some of the stuff that I've heard they've been able to recover. One is a Purple Heart medal, Like, I can't imagine, just there's so many families that donated stuff that was personal to them that they wanted to see on display at that museum, and they're probably thinking, that's lost forever. And I can't wait to follow up on the stories where people get to know that their grandpa's medal or whatever was saved. So definitely one we'll keep following.
Coming on to number 4, most clicked story. This is cartel involvement in a human smuggling case in Alvord. So if you remember the Punjabi Dhaba Indian restaurant, 287 going north in Alvord, kind of truck stop area. There were tips to law enforcement going back to like March of 2022 that something kind of fishy was going on there. And they ended up investigating it and found, I think, 11, 12, 13 people or whatever were working there that had been smuggled from different countries, allegedly, some, South America that were, undocumented or whatever you may. Another case that we're still
we don't have a ton of details on it, but it sounds like a very complicated and intense. It's going to be an intense story to cover, and
a lot of different branches of law enforcement working on it, which hopefully that, Wise County Sheriff's Office and all these police departments obviously do a great job, but it is good that they can use these other, hopefully even federal resources maybe to kind of help this thing go along even more. So.
Yeah, definitely an interesting day because I feel like every breaking news story, most of these happen on like a press day. It's basically, if y'all don't know, like we kind of have a day where we build the paper and set it up and design it and everything and proof it, and do a lot of writing on that day too. So whenever there's breaking news, it's like, okay, can we fit this in?
Right.
So that was a scenario where we couldn't get information at the time for that paper, but we kept getting calls. Why is this huge police presence at the Indian restaurant in Alvord? And that was it. So yeah, we're still working on that one for sure. We're still, and as this investigation continues, we'll have more answers.
And number 5, rounding out our top 5 most clicked stories.
Yeah, this was, you know, a tragedy, but also kind of had an ironic twist. The headline was suspect identified in hit and run crash. So this was, I believe, Jerry Wayne Newton was the victim of this hit and run crash. He was on his motorcycle, I believe, and hit and run, and they couldn't find the guy for a week or so. And kind of a big investigation. I think Rome PD was kind of leading the effort on it. And it turned out that they were able to identify the suspect through a security camera that the victim of the crash actually ended up installing.
Yeah, I was over there at Aurora Baptist Church. I remember clicking through, like his family members' Facebook and his Facebook, trying to figure out kind of who this guy was or what his story was. And it seemed like the two biggest parts of his life were very involved with his church and loved riding motorcycles.
Right.
So, yeah, it was kind of a poetic ending that, what he poured into his church and his community ended up kind of giving him and his family some justice in the end.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if revenge is the right word, but it's a cool twist to a sad story that he was able to basically solve his own I don't know what you call it, death.
Yes.
So, and I think that rounds out our top 5. Definitely a newsy year for us. In there, we also had the courthouse renovation project, the sale of the hospital, and several other major news events. But those are our top 5 most clicked. Kind of where you want to go next?
We can go into. We're going to do some sports.
Yeah, big sports year for Wise County.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think the 2 biggest ones that a lot of people followed and invested in were Bryce Elder kind of making a name for himself in the MLB with the Braves. The beginning of the season, had kind of a tough spring training, gets sent to the AAA affiliate, and then some injuries in the starting rotation, and gets brought back up and is just killing it on the mound through the first half of the season, all-star.
You get that opportunity and just totally take advantage, yes, I belong here. And he pitched so well that all-star game, made the all-star team for the NL. Such a, it's it just blew our expectations away. Everybody's does he belong? Well, he belongs, and he's also one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Right. And I think the even cooler part is he's such a good dude and still, always homegrown product and always be associated with Decatur. And I think that's something that I don't want to speak on his behalf, but it seems like it's something he's very proud of to be from here and still gives back to the community.
Right. He talks to us. He lets us bug him for stories. And, definitely an example of a role model and a great character guy. I think, was it this week where he was at VCA?
Yeah, signing autographs for kids, and it was not a publicized event by any means. It's like, oh man, I wish we could have been there to take photos of it, but it says even more about him that he was like, I'm not doing this for cameras or for any publicity. Yeah. I'm doing this because I want these kids to see that, an all-star pitcher still loves and cares about his community.
Right. I mean, can you imagine being one of those kids, looking up to Bryce Elder? It's like, he's like an actual celebrity sports star.
Yes.
And he's from Decatur, and he's, I think it was interesting following. He kind of had an interesting route to the MLB because of COVID and everything. He was, getting in his training before the draft at Fitting Wise.
Yeah.
It's a cool story, and it's definitely something Decatur and Wise County should be proud of.
And I think the other big sports headline as far as team stuff was Boyd Baseball winning the 3A state championship.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of, I don't know, just scrappy dudes that just found a way to win every game, undefeated in district, battled the elements in the playoffs.
Making insane defensive plays throughout. One of those championship stories, definitely storybook where it's everything kind of, had so many different people step up in different situations to pull this off. And, we hear a lot about it from Micah's perspective, right? Congratulations to Micah.
Should have graduated from Boyd High School in
Tells us that
2008.
But yeah, he was covering, I think, the camera well. I don't know if it was the state semifinal game that it had like 100 and like the field temp was some insane.
Yeah.
Like shouldn't even be
like melt your cleats.
Yeah.
Hot.
Like would be dangerous just to be there, much less run around and do something athletic.
Yeah.
And I think he had a little rat in his camera well too.
Yeah, who he I think affectionately named Champ.
Yeah. Like the rally rat.
Yeah.
So, that was obviously an awesome story. Just some great moments from that team. That definitely fond memory of 2023 and a great state championship.
And the state championship special section was awesome as well. We had a huge paper that week. I remember Roy Eaton sending us an email saying our paper is bigger than the Dallas Morning News today. That was a very proud moment for us.
Yeah. No, and during this kind of the summer months too.
Yeah. Where it's typically a little bit slower. Yeah.
But we had so many different great teams this year. I think Slidell's cross country team kind of bowed out of 1A competition on top.
Big send off.
So they're going to 2A, but claim that cross country championship. Decatur swim team broke through. What are state titles we have?
BCA football, and they won their it was boys and girls combined track state championship. So and they're moving to TAP. So another way for them to kind of all right, we've done our thing here in TCAP and we're ready for the next big thing.
But yeah, I think we got to we can't fail to mention our Paradise and Decatur football teams who Paradise went further than they ever have before. Another team where it's just like, they're undersized, kind of going into the I mean, they're a great team. They should never be the underdog, but like looking on, if you just looked at the sidelines, it'd be hard to tell that this was a dominant team.
It's like a bunch of skinny defensive linemen, some farm boys, if you will, but just gritty,
speed, though.
Tough, super fast around the edge. Very well coached. I mean, I covered 2 of their games. The first one I covered, they played a 4A team and just absolutely put the hurt on them. Like a team that was way bigger than them that they, should not have been that good against, but just absolutely killed them. And I think that's when I kind of took notice of, all right, this team's here to play. Made history, very emotional moment to see them kind of get over that hump that they've been struggling to get over. So.
Yeah, I mean, no shortage of great athletes on that team. I mean, Austin Iglesias, Kobe Dickens, Aid Winters,
Isaiah Jennings,
such a long list. Lane Hawley.
Yeah.
So I mean, just a lot of stars on that team, and same goes for Decatur, who went on another great run. Unfortunately, like both of those teams, they ran up against like their kryptonite with Paradise was with Brock, and then Decatur faced Anna, who they played earlier in the season.
The eventual state champ, Anna. So
yeah,
we can at least claim, hey, if you have to lose against someone, you're going to lose against the champ. So.
Right. And Decatur started off kind of slow, but picked it up, and it's a tough team to beat with Nate Palmer, which is probably one of the better athletes that we've had come through Wise County in a long time. Going to TCU, it'd be fun to watch him play there.
For sure.
But yeah, there's a long list of great players too, between Jed and White Vincent. I mean, there's too many to list, but that was definitely a fun football season for us to cover.
Yeah, I think maybe the most fun I've ever had at work was covering the Decatur-Stephenville game, the 3-hour rain delay at halftime, and then despite the field conditions, just really a mud bowl there in the second half. It became a shootout. I mean, Stephenville is known for tossing around, and Decatur did the same exact thing. I think there's 7 or 8 touchdowns scored in the second half.
Right.
Student section was small, but it was strong, and teachers and principals and Superintendent Chad Jones was there cheering on. They waited out the storm. It was awesome to see.
Well, you just covered a game.
I had covered Paradise, in
like,
Godly, and I drove back, and my game didn't get rained out. I think every other game got
That was
rained
a
out.
crazy night.
And I came back and I was about to eat a McChicken after writing my game recap. And then Micah sent me the text, hey, man, you should come up to the field and shoot with me. And it was awesome. It was one of the most memorable, not just sports experiences, but just, working at this job. Period.
Well, it was a tough ending because I think their play, I don't know if it was overtime, or at least the final moments,
Yeah.
that they kind of fell short. They went for two, went for the win. And actually, I think they ran that same play in the playoffs and executed it like to perfection. So they got, it was a learning lesson they were able to apply in the playoffs and succeed. But yeah, I mean, there's so many great athletes. Is there a particular one that
I'm partial to Mr. Ife Duradoye, the running back for Northwest High School. Monster on the field. Like, it looks like he is like he is going to run someone over on every carry. It looks like he's like trying to hurt the earth. How hard he's running. Also, just a great kid. But against Saginaw, he broke this school single game rushing touchdown record. He scored 7 all in the first half,
which is in one half, 7 touchdowns in one half.
Right. And talking to him and his teammates and the coaches about it, they were more invested than him and him getting that record. Coaches were on the headset once I think he had his 4th or 5th touchdown. They were like, all right, I think we can make this happen for him, and they just kept feeding him the rock. But then whenever I interviewed him, he was like, nope, this is a team accomplishment. Like, I didn't do this. Like, my boys on the O-line, the coaches, like, quarterback, like, everyone did their job, and I just happened to be the beneficiary of what happened here.
And he, genuinely means that, too. I think people can say that as, lip service, but you could tell. You could see the excitement in just looking through the game photos from that one of, whenever the linemen were celebrating with him, they're, thrilled for him, and, you can tell he sees it totally as a team effort.
For sure,
it's a totally genuine, great kid. Can't wait to see what he does, either on the field or
Yeah, he's also super smart. Like, his mom is a nurse, his dad is a college professor. Has a really smart, successful family. So whatever he does, I think he's going to be great at.
Yeah, and then so I guess kind of covers sports. Kind of would like to kind of peel back some of the layers, some behind the scenes stuff people might find interesting about life as a reporter in Wise County. One thing we kind of go into our tragedies category was y'all may have noticed we lost our Facebook page for a month. The center of controversy. People are like, "What would they do?"
Right. Yeah. Automatically, we were at fault according to everyone. It was
must
tough.
have done something crazy.
It was detrimental to my mental health.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
So one day we just got to work. I think it was either Brian who's about to post updates. Facebook's not working. And so usually, it's happened to our Wise County Messenger sports page before. It has actually happened to our main account, but usually it's we'll post a gallery of photos from a volleyball game or something, and for some reason the algorithm flags that as inappropriate content.
Right.
This one, we got flagged. Said we had content violations, and then when we would work through it, it wouldn't show that we had any content violations, but our page was just down. Usually there's a little process to click through, and each time I would click through it, it was a broken link. It would just load and load and load and load And if y'all ever have problems with Facebook, I challenge you to try to call somebody
without getting scammed.
Without getting scammed, because that doesn't exist. It's such a I think there's billions of users, and customer service is not a
not a department that they have at Meta.
Yeah, they
apparently.
This is we can't do this. So definitely a stressful process, and about a month. It took quite some time, and I think I lobbed some tweets out.
You had a good Twitter thread.
Yeah.
Kind of pontificating on our Facebook woes.
Right. Had some screenshots, had some videos, some screen recordings to try to show what was going on. But luckily, through that, we had several people reach out to help. One of them being Congressman Burgess' office and Senator Tam Parker's office, in addition to several others who were either went through the same thing. We had a school that lost their Facebook page. It wasn't even in Wise County. and they're like, okay, this is how kind of we were able to get back up. And then so it's just like one day, it's like we got a hold of the right person. So they connected us with, I think like a government compliance officer or something like that works with those offices at Facebook, and they looked at it within like 5 minutes. Our page was back up.
Just got to know the right people, apparently.
Like I just fear for other businesses that may not have those connections, may not have those people that are willing to help out, and then you're just out of luck. Like you just lost a big arm because we had just we celebrated getting to 50,000 followers. The road to 50K.
Road to 50K, and we had just got 50,000. It was like, all right, you guys are done here.
Yeah, it's like okay, I guess we're just not getting this back. But happy to have it back. I think we're now at like 52.
Oh, really?
Getting there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on the rise. We bounced back after our
road to 100K.
Probably it'd be like 200K if we hadn't gotten taken off.
For like 3 million or something.
Yeah, it'd be huge. But that was traumatic, but glad to be back. But thought some interesting things. Like we're trying to look back at some kind of behind the scenes stuff. One that came to mind was our new reporter Jillian. She came around the summer, doing a great job. But one thing you might not know about kind of the process behind breaking news is each week we switch off on what we call scanner duty. So we each listen to a police radio, and that's kind of how we catch those fatal wrecks, fires, yada yada yada, shootings and stuff like that. So Jillian, so like usually we'll wait like a month or so, get people acclimated, and then they start scanner duty. And her first week definitely had an interesting call.
It was in I guess Paradise area. It was a double murder suicide. The other part of that was, for whatever reason, if you live in Wise County or really just in Decatur, you can use actual radios and pick up the signals. But if you live in like Denton, like you and Jillian live, or whenever I was living in Azle at the time, we had to use an app, and the app didn't have the Wise County Sheriff's Office channel to listen to. We can only listen to fire and EMS, and so sometimes you would hear like a gunshot wound or something like that, and you're like, is this an accidental shooting? Like, was someone cleaning their rifle, or did someone get shot? And I think that was her case. She's listening to the fire and EMS scanner and hears something about a gunshot wound, but Brian was still at the office and could get the other part of it, where it was like, this is a terrible situation. Yeah. And so he has to send the daunting text message to her like, oh, hey, by the way, I know like this is your first week on scanner, but there's 2 people just got killed and need you to go take a photo.
Are you listening to this?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so I think, people kind of just assume that we know everything at all times, but a lot of times it's, reporters sitting at home, stressing, trying to make out what they're hearing
while watching a Cowboys game or something.
Right? Like trying to catch an address, trying to catch some information, and after we do that, we'll try to confirm that information and make sure we're putting out something accurate. But yeah, it takes some time, so be nice.
Yeah, if we don't get traffic alert up in 30 seconds, either our technology isn't working or it's unconfirmed, or I don't know, maybe we're taking a nap or something.
Yeah. Well, there's 4 of us.
Right. We're just a community newspaper.
Yeah, we are a newspaper. Yeah, that was definitely interesting. Another, breaking news kind of saga was our summer, where I think you finally got to, to accomplish your breaking news itch.
Yeah, so I think, my first 2 or 3 goes on scanner, it would be a fire investigation, and I would get, it sounds bad, but like hyped up because I got my first piece of breaking news, and I would go out there and it was kind of a nothing burger, or a grass fire put out in 15 minutes or whatever. But when we get to the summer, historically hot and dry summer for Wise County, especially in those first 2 weeks of August, where we're under a burn ban and kind of a state of emergency, really. And I think the first big one was the Sweetwater Creek fire in East Wise County. In Denton County was called in for that one too. But it's 232 acres were burned, and that was another happened on a press day, kind of an all-day affair. You know, aerial assets from Texas A&M Forest Service had planes going overhead, helicopters dumping water. It was cool for me to finally be like boots on the ground reporter out at a breaking news scene, and trying to talk to fire chiefs and being at the Wise County Office of Emergency Management, like seeing how they operate. And no one was hurt, no structures were burned down, anything. So it was kind of the really, if there is such a thing, like perfect breaking news scenario where it's good news coverage and it's interesting, but no one really gets hurt. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was a serious fire. I mean, we had homes that were threatened.
Yeah, 200 structures, I think, threatened. But
yeah, and I know something you got to experience with that was kind of getting into that emergency operations center at the Office of Emergency Management, and it's a basically when you walk in there, you got like 7 screens, and then Cody Powell, the who's over that department, he's basically during a situation like that, it's like a huge stress on local resources and state resources. So it's like coordinating, trying to fit, assets to where they need to go, and you also have other fire events happening at the same time, which is something that happened with this situation, I think.
Yeah, Wise County Fire Marshal Jeff Doty said that 10, not 200 acre, but 5 or 10 acre grass fires, at least 10 had happened that week.
Yeah,
so
any of those can spiral out of control, and I think the fire kind of towards the West Wise area that we were covering it that day. Another big one, a gas fire out in I don't know if that was Rome.
So that was the there was the Runaway Bay fire a couple weeks later.
Right.
That was 80 acres, but then at the same time there was the gas fire in Rome that caught 3 tractor trailers on fire and then ignited a grass fire. Just a crazy summer all around for our grass fire coverage.
But that's another reminder, every day is a good reminder to support your, local volunteer fire department. But especially in those situations, those guys are, working jobs and setting that aside and, basically covering us.
Yeah,
and keeping us safe.
Not doing it for the pay, like doing it for the love of the game. If
right.
Like they do it because they know it's important, and not because there's any, not doing it for the clout or anything like that, if you will.
And those guys already have enough issues. Then add in 100-acre grass fire, long fire events where they're pulling really long shifts with limited resources. So if you see a fish fry, see a barbecue fundraiser,
stuff the boot.
Yeah, just give something.
Give them a 20. That's that's all you have to do, really.
Write a check.
Yeah.
So good dudes there, and a good reminder to support those guys. I guess. What do you want to hit? Dreaming up headlines for 2024.
Yeah, another thing that you'll see this in print as well, I guess next week. But kind of what we've done over the last few years. Well, maybe I don't know, a decade maybe at this point. Yeah. Dreaming up. I think it's usually editor dreams up headlines of whatever the next year is. Kind of what do we want to see happen in Wise County? What would we like to report on? So we've got 10 or so here some events that we'd like to hopefully report on in the coming year.
All right, number one, we lead off with one comment we mentioned earlier was that the museum rebuilt. Could be at the original site, could be
anywhere.
Just love to see them get on their feet and kind of have some kind of closure and kind of a path forward. And I think obviously a big part of that is a home for history in Decatur, and it looks like they're kind of on the right track. So I hope they get some good news for sure. And then number 2,
we've got Medical City Decatur invests into community and expands services. So one of our, I think it was December 1st is whenever that acquisition deal was closed between Medical City and Wise Health System. So you now have Medical City Decatur. I think they have the finances. I think they have the people in all areas. Hospital staff and just across the board. I think they have a lot of resources that can be put to good use in Decatur and in the other 3 hospitals from Wise Health System that they acquired. So I think maybe take some time to get a feel for the people they're serving, But once they feel established, I think that you can see a lot of good done by
Mm-hmm.
Medical City in Wise County, and kind of the next era of healthcare in the area. So
Yeah, I mean, definitely during that acquisition, lost a lot of good people in terms of layoffs and stuff. But it could definitely be a great thing for our healthcare, honestly, and financially stable. That was a big contributing factor, was just the state of Wise Health System's finances. So I hope they kind of have that formula, that proven track record to you know provide healthcare at not losing a lot of money while
yeah,
doing it. And then we'll also see kind of what the future of the Decatur Hospital Authority looks like.
yeah, they're still going to operate Fit and Wise, which has been, I think, 2015, 16, 17 maybe. But it's been huge just for health and wellness in Wise County, and serves all people. You can do anything from like aquatic therapy to like sport specific training.
Yeah.
So it seems like that's gonna be Decatur Hospital Authority's main operation. And I think my prediction is they're gonna get creative with what they start to offer. Just kind of expand those auxiliary services of healthcare. And I think we're gonna see some really cool stuff come from them.
Yeah, that was kind of something unique about Wise Health System, was kind of the various ways that they, try to impact the community, whether it was like community health studies, basically kind of figuring out what are the biggest, needs for the community, and also like Mary's Gift,
Yeah.
providing free mammography service, centers for emotional wellness. Definitely, there was a lot of kind of arms that they used to kind of say, look at the whole health of Wise County and how we can try to benefit and find unique ways to serve the area. And I'll be interested to see how Decatur Hospital Authority kind of figures out kind of how they can operate
Mm-hmm.
moving forward. So then we'll jump to the next one. This is an evergreen one, apparently.
Yeah, this showed up in 2012,
Yeah.
Dreaming Up headlines.
So number 3 on the list, we might get mixed up on our numbers. I might combine one, actually. So number 3 is school finance crisis solved.
It's a big one. I mean, it's been a hot button issue
Yeah.
here recently. Won't get into the political weeds, I think, but
Yeah, they're still working on it. I think they've been working on it for a decade now, but definitely our public schools are hurting in terms of how much funding they get from the state. And there's been some they had, huge budget surplus, trying to figure out, because I think most Wise County schools, if not all, I think they passed the deficit budget, and it's schools like Decatur, that deficit, keeps growing, and it's like they need a solution, a long-term solution for funding that is sustainable.
well, it's about that time to listen to the Wise Up podcast.
The thing that dovetails off that school finance, we're going to kind of combine this into one headline for number 3, is school bonds pass. It was, a tough year at the polls for our school districts, especially Decatur and Bridgeport. Northwest kind of killed it, but
Yeah.
Decatur and Bridgeport each put 2 bonds on the ballot that failed, and I think that kind of goes hand in hand with some of the school finance stuff. So Decatur, they kind of had a larger bond on the first go, and Bridgeport, you know that one more closely, that kind of process.
Yeah, Bridgeport's it was really close to one that they had tried to go for in 2020, and then obviously with COVID, that was on the back burner, not the most important thing at the time. Nearly identical to what they had been working on for the past couple of years, but voters didn't like that too much, and Bridgeport and Decatur said no in May. Then had some summer meetings, kind of reimagine what those bonds would look like. Came back in this past November. Decatur's was a different approach. I think the May one was about $330 million. They came back in November with $68 million. Just really addressing maintenance issues. That was going to help out their M&O budget. This is getting in the weeds.
Oh, no.
Gonna get off this train.
Go into debt service rate?
getting off this train. But yeah, that was really bare bones from Decatur, and that was an even worse return on.
Yeah, it's
yes
kind of shocking
votes.
to see the turnout, and it just seeing those all the bond results from those two schools, it's like we really need. It's so important for our communities to support such a integral part of a community is their local schools. People think about moving or setting up a family. They're one of the first things to look is how good are your schools, and if you have ones that are over capacity, falling apart, it's not a great long term solution for a thriving community. So kind of hope to see the tides turn on that. I don't know what it'll take to. I feel like there's some kind of mistrust with schools right now, and I hope that people kind of realize these are not what you see on the news. These are your neighbors that are trying to teach your kids.
Yeah, and we have a lot. I mean, I'm biased, but I think we have the best educators in Wise County.
Right.
And just doing stuff for the education in our paper. Remember, we are a newspaper.
We are a newspaper.
But just talking to teachers and administrators for education stories, they care about the kids so much, and unfortunately, they're having to really get creative in how they give those services. And so hopefully we can have maybe not in 2024, it would be great, but hopefully in the next couple of years we can have a healthy bond pass.
It's only going to become more of a issue. So we'll see. Hopefully the tides turn a little bit on that one. So that brings us to number 4, another
evergreen. This has always been something that we're looking for. Long-term water source found in the Wise County. I think you know a little bit more about this than me, but yeah, wells, just drilling wells over and over again in Wise County is not a long-term water source that is
not sustainable.
That you can keep up.
Wise County for the past 4 years or so has been in the top 5 of most wells drilled across Texas' 254 counties. And when you look at the population, that's a bad trend.
Yep.
We're per capita we're way more wells, and so it'd be massive to find a different solution than poking holes in the ground. And it's something that county officials, city officials, water experts from various water authorities around here were kind of brainstorming on at the water summit earlier this year. And it's going to take probably a multifactorial solution. Multifaceted approach. But if the silver bullet would be finding some surface water source. But obviously that's maybe not be a easy thing. But we're still going to put it as our top headline. They found one that they can use.
But look, state officials and feds are kind of plugged into this affair.
Yeah, it's a state issue.
It's really come to notice across the board. So got a lot of people working on this.
All right, and think another one that we would like to see in 2024 is Laura Whitener's murder being solved. It'll be 5 years next year, and that family needs some closure. This county needs some closure on it, and it's just the fact that right now there might be a murderer on the loose.
Right.
So that's a story we would love to report on, that that family gets the justice that they deserve. And then on the next one, we're gonna hop around
a little bit lighter note.
A little bit lighter. Let's hit this one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this would be huge for us. New Decatur Shopping Center opens. Regional grocery store chain
Generic?
is there. Maybe a 3-letter one would be great. Chipotle and a Chick-fil-A also kind of drop in there.
Yeah. Kind of fill out that shopping center with the grocery stores that kind of anchor with a Chick-fil-A and a Chipotle.
That'd be huge. I mean, it was an old messenger bit of Kristen Tribe, saying how many days had passed since Chick-fil-A was in Wise County. And if you see on Facebook when the Chick-fil-A food truck drops into Bridgeport, people go wild for that.
Nuts.
So, yeah. And just, Chipotle, I'd love to get a bowl, every other week or something. That would be great. Or even, put a soup and sandwich chain in there.
He wants soup.
Yeah.
Soup store.
Yeah, pretty much.
Soup stop.
At least once a week, I'll go on my phone and Google soup near me because I just love soup so much. If we had a a great soup chain in Wise County.
chain.
Hopefully at this new shopping center.
Entrepreneurs, restaurateurs, begin thinking of
Yeah,
the next
bring soup chain to Wise County. That'd be great.
Oh man, another fun one, I guess. Another maybe unrealistic one. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's possible. No 100 degrees no 100-degree days reported over the summer.
We had some bad days this
Hot,
summer.
dry, miserable summer last year. So maybe it bounces back in the other direction for just a 90, 92
That'd be
tops.
perfect. Little
Breeze.
10 mile per hour wind coming through. Great basketball weather that would be compared to 111 degrees.
Right.
So
yeah, we have a basketball hoop in our parking lot, and we probably should have died playing during the summer.
yeah, heat advisory basketball, not a good idea.
Yeah, dangerous heat. Let's hop on to the next one. Number 8.
Courthouse
Doable.
project completed. I think
Doable.
in your last big story you did on the courthouse renovations, Wise County Judge J.D. Clark said December 2024 is
Awesome.
a date that you could see that courthouse be fully open and operational, and back to that the symbol of justice that's been there right on the square all these years.
Yeah, it's our logo. The Wise County Courthouse is such an important part of our identity, basically. Not just as a newspaper, just as people that live and work here. And that's the first thing probably people think about when they think about Wise County is that courthouse. And finally, it's for the first time in decades, it's going to kind of look like it was originally planned. There's a lot of efforts to kind of improve the functionality of it. But kind of the biggest thing that I've seen when I've been touring is kind of just how the original architecture and design is finally coming back. And probably most evidenced by the district courtroom. They took out the ceiling that was added in during the remodel, and you just look up and it's just this magnificent space. And it really is like kind of like a sobering, like you said, like a symbol of justice. Like it feels like a place where these big weighty trials can take place.
It's an appropriate place for them to be heard, I think.
Yeah, it's really like magnificent, honestly. Like it's grand. It's gonna look so great, and I can't wait for people to see it.
Also, getting some more a new elevator, some really practical things.
Yeah.
Some new audio-visual technology for Commissioner's Court.
Oh,
which will be
major.
Which will be huge.
Yeah.
So looking forward to everything that's going to be included with that.
Sprinkler, fire suppression system, big. And then next, we'll kind of continue on our lighter note.
Here?
You want me to take this one?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go for it. I know you really want to see this happen.
Yeah. So if you are a fan of the Wise Up podcast, you may have learned that J.D. Clark is kind of a musical savant. Too far? Songwriter?
Some would say that.
Some would say that.
Maybe just us, but
maybe
some
just
would.
Us. We've, so Brendan started off. He tackled Wise Culture, a little feature series where we kind of like looked at some of our artists around town and around the county, and one he helped. I don't know if discover is the right word, but got to kind of highlight.
I put him on the map, basically. It's the Dax Davis Band.
Right.
It's some high school boys out in Slidell that they all play basketball together, but they're also just incredible musicians. I think the subhead on that was Slidell hoopsters turned musicians find success on and off the court.
Great headline.
I still remember that. But no, I think what would we like to see those two groups do?
Yeah, so you got the superstar county judge that's really kind of getting involved in some major developments with like the Regional Transportation Council, the National Association of County Future President. This guy, what we want for him in 2024 is to be on a stadium tour, touring with the Dax Davis Band.
Yeah. A technical stadium tour, maybe not AT&T Stadium, maybe Dragon Stadium.
Yeah, Dragon
Chico.
Stadium.
Yeah, that's very I think it would sell out. I think it's very doable.
We would buy tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Merch. Think about the merch.
Probably most unrealistic thing other than which one's more likely, Dax Daysman and Judge Clark, or long-term water source found
Ooh.
in the next 12 months?
Ooh. These are dreams.
Right, that's why it's dreaming up headlines.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we hope to see in 2024.
I think there's one more that I wanted to add.
Oh.
maybe the most important
this is the
thing.
big one. This is number 10. Should be number 1.
It is Rangers repeat as World Series champions after acquiring Atlanta Braves ace pitcher Bryce Elder. Not going to happen.
Make it happen.
Not going to happen. I think the other scenario in that is what I've dreamed up. The alternative is Rangers beat Braves in 7-game World Series. Bryce Elder pitches 2 perfect games in that series.
This is a very selfish one. We're big Rangers fans, big Bryce Elder fans. So like a trade, probably disruptive for Bryce, but probably would have to go terribly wrong with the Atlanta Braves to consider it.
Yeah.
But if that were to happen, and the Rangers, they needed somebody to push them over the top for the World Series.
There's one man that can do it. His name is Bryce Elder.
It's Bryce. So, it was so fun. I think former editor Richard Green got to cover this one when Bryce had his first start at in Arlington. And that was basically a home game for the Braves because so many Wise County folks were cheering him on. There's like a whole contingent, a whole section just going nuts for Bryce with each strike, with each out. And can you imagine hometown hero starting for the defending world champion Texas Rangers?
And I don't know, Micah would go crazy because he'd be able to cover these games in person.
Yeah, we'd have to, get him in the press box every week.
But I think that rounds out our top 10-ish dreamed up headlines for 2024. Again, remember, if you want to hold this up,
we're a newspaper.
We are a newspaper. Our 2023 year in review is on newsstands now. You can also check it out online. Great, headlines that we covered this past year, crime stories, funny crime reports, some great photos that we took. So, yeah, pick that up. It's $1, 4 quarters.
$1. Wow.
10 dimes. That's all it costs. Pick that up and, look to some new stuff that we're coming out with in 2024. We're going to keep this thing rolling just as we have the past year.
Yeah, 2023 was certainly an important year for this county, and it was it's kind of a responsibility and honor to cover a community like this, and I think 2024 is going to bring more great papers, more great stories, and some things to definitely celebrate, and we'll be there for the tough times too. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys for supporting us, and can't wait to continue to provide our great news coverage in 2024. Have a happy and safe new year.